Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Texas City Tells the podcast. My name is Ramari.
I'm Jennifer.
And today we have Joe Tumbleson. He is our Emergency Manager and Director of Homeland Security. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So hurricane season is officially here.
Yes.
What do people need to know?
Well, I was going to end with a plug for the Hurricane Town Hall, but I think we can start with that. On June 22nd, we're going to have a Hurricane Town Hall meeting at the Doyle Convention Center where we'll go over a lot of details in depth. We'll have the National Weather Service there to speak. TxDOT will be there to speak. It'll be some great information. Plus, it's going to be free hot dogs and chips and drinks, homemade hot dogs. And we're going to give away generators, flashlights, hurricane supplies, some survival kits. We'll give those away with a raffle. But it's about an hour and a half, and it's some great information. We'll cover a lot of topics. But basically, hurricane season is here. The first month is usually pretty quiet, and if we do get a storm, it's not going to be major. But as we get into late July and then into August and September, those are the months that are by far the most active. And what we want to do with the Hurricane Town Hall and with this podcast is make sure everyone is prepared before the hurricane is in the Gulf or before it's 3 or 4 days out. Because then you're not thinking clearly, right? You want to wait. You wait till then, you're going to be kind of panicking a little bit, and you might forget something. So now's a perfect time to get everything in order and make sure you have everything covered.
So what kind of things should people have in their supply kit?
So it kind of differs for everybody. There's a lot of things to cover, but if you go to the weather.gov/Houston, the National Weather Service has put out a severe weather hurricane guide. So it's good for hurricanes and any type of severe weather like we had last Thursday night. It'll have a checklist of a ton of things down there, and you can see what's applicable to you and what you need off of that list, and make yourself a checklist and make sure you got everything in there. But you want to have your vehicles fueled. You want to have all your cell phones charged. If you have a generator, you want to make sure that works, and then it's full of fuel. Your prescriptions, list of contacts. Most importantly, you want to know where you're going to go beforehand. If you're thinking, hey, I'm going to go to my uncle's house, make sure he knows you're coming right before you just show up. But you don't have to go far. That's something we always tell people. The storm surge on a hurricane is what causes the most damage and kills the most people. 90% of the damage and deaths come from the storm surge. So you just want to run from the water and hide from the wind. So if you just get to the other side of Houston, that's far enough to protect yourself, right? But if you stayed in a little bed and breakfast or a nice hotel somewhere in Fredericksburg or Conroe or Katy or something like that, and you like the place, jot that down, make yourself a note, and make sure you have that number handy. And when something looks like it might be coming in, call and see if you can go ahead and get your reservations early before it gets booked up, with everybody else trying to get out of town. So having that information readily available ahead of time, and you know where you're going to go, and that just helps tremendously.
Yeah, definitely.
I attended the town hall last year, and I'm still kind of young. And so I'm used to, my parents being in charge. They'll tell us when it's time to go. I'm just going to follow wherever they say. And now that I'm an adult, I'm I have to
Gotta get ready.
actually prepare. What do you mean I have to find a place to stay?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really informational, and it was a really good wake-up call.
Yeah, and it's fun too, especially with the giveaway, the prizes, and the free food, and it's just a good hour and a half. It's fun. You get to hear some interesting topics. Dan Riley with the National Weather Service, he has some great information on hurricanes. He talks a little bit about how often we get hit. I know a lot of people are talking about how active the season's going to be this year. There is a El Nino that's supposed to slow it down, but there's really high water temperatures, which is supposed to speed it up. But I like to tell people that one of the slowest hurricane seasons we ever had, I think, was in 1983, and that's when Alicia hit our area directly, and it was devastating. And we've had some seasons that were the busiest seasons ever, and nothing came close to us. So I wouldn't base anything off that. I would just know that, according to research, we have about a 1 in 9 chance of getting hit by a hurricane every year within 50 miles of our area. Wow. And then we have a 1 in 25 chance of getting hit by a major hurricane, a Category 3 or higher. So just knowing that any given day, any given year, we could get a storm at any time, no matter how active the season is, and just having to be prepared for that is very important.
So how long have you been the emergency manager for Texas City?
Officially since last April. I started in this position, but before that I was with the Texas City Fire Department for 26 years. So I've been here through quite a few hurricanes, and what's interesting to me about all the hurricanes that I've been through here in town, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, that there's never two that are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Some bring flooding, some bring high winds, some bring higher storm surge. So you can't base your past experience on what you're going to do on the next hurricane. A lot of people say, I've been through a ton of hurricanes. I know I can stay, or I can, I know what to do. But the next hurricane, people in Louisiana, when Katrina came, I read a story about a gentleman who's been through tons of hurricanes, and he said, I know what to do. I'm going to stay. And his family begged him to leave, but Katrina was something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
The levee didn't work properly, and it was just a massive storm, and he ended up not making it out, right? So don't base your decisions off past experience. I know a lot of people evacuated for Hurricane Rita, which I think was 2005, and I did myself. And when I got done with that, I said I would never evacuate again. That was miserable. And that was one of the worst evacuations in our country's history. 111 people died just evacuating from that storm. There was a lot of reasons for it, and a lot of those things that failed during that evacuation have been fixed. So the evacuation routes are supported now by the state. We hope that never happens again. But we understand that, and so if we call for an evacuation, or if I recommend it, and if the mayor calls for the evacuation, I'm begging everybody to take heed, because we know how stressful, how costly, and how much of a pain it is to evacuate, and we don't take that lightly. So when we call for evacuation, we're really worried that storm surge is going to come in, and you're not going to be able to escape it. So if you do hear orders to evacuate, you need to take that seriously and already have been prepared, know where you're going, and start heading out of town. And the earlier you can leave, the less likely you are to sit in all that traffic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, about all the different factors that you consider before making a recommendation to evacuate, because I know there's so much information that comes into your office.
No, that's a great question. There is, and the city of Texas City puts a ton of resources in place so that we can get as much data as possible. One good point is if we have a category size hurricane, 3 or 4, that just tells us the wind speed. That's not the most important thing we make our decision on. So we don't say we're staying on a Category 3 or we're leaving on a Category 2, because the storm surge, like I said earlier, is what kills people. So we could have a larger storm surge with a smaller category size hurricane, and we would call for an evacuation. Our city's protected by a levee system. Most of our city is. So it's real important that you know where you're at is in regards to that protection and that levee system. You can find that out by going to that hurricane guide we talked about. And in there's a link that'll pull out a map, and it'll show you what different levels of storm surge will affect. And you can see if you're in that area. You can zoom right into where you're at and see what storm surge danger you're at. But so we take into account the storm surge is one of our huge factors that we take into account. And then, again, the forward motion of the hurricane. If it's going 40 miles an hour, it's going to go over us pretty quick, right? But if it's a Category 3 going 40 miles an hour, it's going to do some damage, but it's going to get out of here quick. But if it's a Category 2 and it's really large versus tight and compact, and it's only going 3 miles an hour, that's going to be 10 times worse, right? So we take into account the tides, the storm surge, the levee system. We take in a ton of information, and we have meetings as those storms are coming in up to every 4 hours with the state of Texas, with the National Weather Service, with our partners that we partner with on other weather options that we get information from. And we take all that information, and as a group of experts, we make a decision based on that. And like I said, we know the consequences of each decision, and we don't take those decisions lightly, whether we say stay or not. So that is a great question. We do get a ton of information in.
So if an evacuation is called, how do people know? Like, where can they go to find out and stay in the loop?
That's a great question. So if we do call for an evacuation, we'll use every resource we have to get that information out. We'll use news media. We'll be covering that. And then we'll also use our Texas City Emergency Management social media, which is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then also the city's social media, and also the police department's social media, and we'll also post that on the website. But most importantly, we'll send out messages through our emergency alerting system, which we use Everbridge, and we'll send out a message, telling everybody to evacuate or not, and we'll keep them updated through that system as the storm's coming in. With all the data we're getting, we'll get that out through that Everbridge system. And if we do call for an evacuation, we'll put that message out, and those who need help evacuating, who don't have a way out, we're gonna have those people evacuate from Blocker Middle School. We have a county-wide plan, and Blocker Middle School is the hub. If you can't get to Blocker Middle School, let us know, and we will get a bus to get you to Blocker Middle School, and then we'll put you on a bus, a Greyhound bus, and get you to the shelter, the safest shelter out of town. So, and that's a big undertaking, but if you do need help evacuating, you can get on a steer list if you call 211. You call 211, tell them you're going to need help evacuating. They're going to ask for a bunch of information, and they don't share it with anybody. But as an emergency manager, I have access to that list. And I think there's a couple hundred people on that list now just in Texas City. And anytime there's a severe weather event or an evacuation, we'll contact everybody on that list. Say a bad storm rolls through and we're without power for a couple days, or a freeze comes in, we're going to contact everybody on that medically fragile list on the steer list and make sure that they don't have any unmet needs. So it's a really good program to get on if you need help. If you're medically fragile or you're going to need help evacuating, call 211 and get on that list. That way, so we know you're there and we know how to find you and help you if you need help.
For Everbridge, how do people get signed up for that?
If you go to the city website, this is the best way because the city website is amazing. It has a lot of great information on it. But right when you click on the city website, on the bottom there's a notification tab. You click on that notification tab and it has another tab that says sign up for emergency alerts. And you put that in and you put a little bit of information in and then you're signed up. And any time we have a big industrial event where we need you to take action, like a shelter in place, or if we need anybody to evacuate or stay out of a certain area, we're going to send out those emergency messages through that. We do have another resource called iPause where we can take over everybody's cell phone in the area. And if it's evacuation is called for, like a major hurricane's coming in, we'd utilize that system as well. So we're going to get that information out.
I signed almost everybody in my family right before Hurricane Harvey, I believe. My mom, she wasn't even living in this area, but I signed her up too, just so like she would get the notification, so she would know just in case I wasn't able to contact her.
Yeah, and that is a good program. And even if you don't live here, if you work here or you know somebody that works here, sign up for it. And that way you can doesn't hurt. You can stay in. We have people signed up for it in New York and California, all over the country, right? So, but the majority of them, we have over 50,000 people signed up for it. So when we send that out, 95% of them are here locally.
Yeah, and I think it's good for people to know, too, we don't spam you on that system. We don't sell your information. We won't blow up your phone with notifications that are not serious.
Right.
Yes, exactly. It's just for emergencies. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to add, something that we may not know but should know?
Well, I can't stress enough the importance of writing down your plan. A lot of people, they've been here a long time. They're like, I know what to do. But if you go to that weather guide, you'll be surprised. There'll be stuff on there like taking pictures of everything in your house beforehand, or doing an insurance update to make sure you're covered for what you want to be covered for, making copies of your marriage certificate. But all that stuff's in there. And if you go down that list and put on there what you want to do and just write it down, and, there's these storms here lately can be rapidly intensifying. There could be one develop in the Gulf, and we may only have 36 hours as it just builds and then moves in slowly. So that's not the time to be trying to make sure you've hit every mark you want to hit. So I can't stress that enough. Go to that weather.gov/Houston, download that severe weather and hurricane guide, and just look at them checklists. It's surprising how much stuff's on there. And you can go down there and just make sure you're ready now, and then when it happens, you have nothing to worry about. Everything's calm. You just get in your car with your go bag and get to where you want to be. But again, that storm surge is the most dangerous. And here in Texas City, we're pretty lucky with the safest coastal community that I know of, because we have a 23-foot storm surge. It's levee wall, which is designed for a 15-foot storm surge with 8-foot waves. So don't try to determine whether our levee system will work or not. Just go to your trusted media outlet and get that information from the city, because we're taking into account a lot of things with that levee system and with the storm surge and with the waves and the tides. And we'll put out that information. But the rest of the county may be under an evacuation order, and we may not be, and that's due to that amazing levee system. That was started in the 60s and finished in the 80s, and I think it was a cost of around $85 million, but today's money would be over half a billion dollars.
Wow.
So, but it does an amazing job, but make sure you get your information from a trusted media source and follow that information.
Yeah. Can you tell us one more time when and where the town hall is going to be?
Yes, June 22nd at the Doyle Convention Center from 5:30 to 7. Now, I'm glad you brought that up because it's important that the first 100 people there get extra stuff. They get a bucket of hurricane supplies with flashlights and stuff like that in it. But everybody that comes in is going to get raffle tickets, and they're going to have a chance to win. We're giving away Astro tickets with parking pass, really good seats. The generator, 3 hurricane survival backpacks that have a ton of stuff in there, and just some other great stuff, So, but if you're the first 100 there, you get a whole bucket full of goodies. So.
And everybody's going to get free dinner.
Yeah, homemade hot dogs.
Not homemade by me, so nobody needs to worry.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Man, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate all of this information. Again, this is Mr. Joe Tumbleson. He is the Emergency Manager and Director of Homeland Security for the City of Texas City. Thank you to the City of Texas City for sponsoring this podcast. If they are someone that you know that's doing amazing work in Texas City, an entrepreneur, small business, industry, please recommend them in the comments below. You can catch new episodes every Wednesday on the city's Facebook page, YouTube, or wherever podcasts are streamed. Until next time.
Bye.